I don't know whether to call this talk the Eye of the Tiger, or Tiger in Your Tank, or the story of Pi, present incarnation. But either way, in any way, this is our story of awakening. And it comes from a brilliant metaphysical interpretation of the movie The Life of Pi by my own beloved wife, Maureen, who saw the movie at the deepest level of being. We read the book years ago when it first came out, and then when we saw the stunning, amazing film of Ang Lee, it brought it to life in a way that I've never seen before. It's our story and our tale of awakening to who we truly, absolutely are. We want to first begin, I want to first begin with a quote from our lesson summation. Don't worry about putting it up, I'll go back to it again later. When it's time to suffer, you should suffer. And when it's time to cry, you should cry. Cry completely. Cry until there are no more tears, and then recognize in your exhaustion that you're still alive. The sun still rises and sets, the seasons come and go. Absolutely nothing remains the same, and that includes your suffering. And when the suffering ends, wisdom begins to rise in you, and you begin to ask the right questions. This is our story of awakening. This is about you and I and this incarnation, the story of Pi, this present incarnation. It's giving you everything you need to look at your suffering and find, as the Buddha said, a way to end your suffering, so wisdom can grow in you. The story is about a boy named Pi, and very early in his life, he loses everything. Everything that's important to him, everything that matters. His mother, his father, his siblings, the zoo that his family kept for years in India, all the animals on it are on this ship. And this huge storm happens and the ship goes down. And if you've seen the movie, how many have? There's an incredible moment where he's in the water and he's watching his life go down the drain. We can all relate to that, right? Down the drain. Everything is gone. All sense of personal self is no longer there. And when he pops back up in the water, what he's left with is a life raft and an 800-pound Bengal male tiger that he has to develop a relationship with to survive. That's some powerful stuff, don't you think? Talk about no self. This tiger, you know the tiger. You know the tiger in you, don't you? Sharpening your nails, wondering what the next thing is you're going to pounce on. It's eat or be eaten when you live the life of the tiger. The eye of the tiger is not something we ever get rid of. It's part of our human nature. We transform the energy of the eye of the tiger into the eye of illumination and awakening. That's what Jesus said. If your eye be single, your whole body will be filled with light. This is the story about lifting up the light in us. As you all know, it was my birthday last week. It's the story of me every Sunday. It was Wednesday of last week, and when I get to my birthday time, I don't know if you do, I try to say to myself, well, what is this year going to be about? What are the major lessons that I'm going to learn for this next 2 seconds I get to be on planet Earth, called my life? And what came up for me was the Buddhist concept of anatta, the idea of no self. No self. This idea of Richard, the very important person whose needs must be met all the time in a specific order. I will sharpen my nails and I'll find something to eat to get what I want. That part of me that's always hungry for its next meal. Anyone relate to that? That's that part in our story that Pi is dealing with. He has to deal with that instinctual part of our nature, that tiger that we have within. And the instinct of a tiger is very focused. It is, he's going to eat, period. And he's worried about he might be the next meal. But what's amazing about the story is initially they end up on the boat with a zebra, a monkey, and a hyena. And the hyena is about to eat Pi, the boy. And out from underneath, when you see the movie, it's stunning. He doesn't know the tiger's on there yet. Out underneath of the canvas comes this tiger that literally eats that hyena. It saves his life, literally. But then it turns and does what?
It wants to eat him. Run for your life, right? So he does when you're facing that. He does what we have to do sometimes. And again, this is our interpretation. He finds a way to separate himself from that energy. He takes a couple of oars and he lays them out with some life jackets underneath, and he separates himself out. And he takes with him a little box that has instructions from the life raft of how to live, an instruction manual, while you're out to sea. An instruction manual, like we give you every week. You know that? Don't you feel we do that? We give how to live in the world of appearances, where it's dog-eat-dog out there, and how the intent to be killed or be killed can turn to your attention to awakening. And it says things that are quite amazing. Things you hear every week here. Don't panic. Be calm. Stay present. Be hopeful. Don't concentrate on the past. It's over. Don't hallucinate about the future. Do what you can do now in the present moment. Whatever that is, stay focused and hopeful that what you need to learn, you will learn in the present moment. And for him, it's to feed the tiger. And so here's this incredible vegetarian who has to step out of his comfort zone. He's never eaten a piece of meat, let alone had to kill an animal. And he ends up fishing to get food. He thinks first for the tiger and then for himself. And there's an amazing line. He says, "You would be amazed at what hunger can do to you." And so he clobbers his first tuna with an axe that he's got. And there's this amazing moment where he's just heartbroken, and he bows down and he thanks the animal for the life it's given him. Just comes back up again. And then he goes and he starts to feed the tiger, but the tiger will not let him on the boat. And he knows he's got to get on that boat. Another huge storm. You know how your life is? You're going along well and things are going great, and what happens? Another huge storm happens, and there you are again. Out on that ship of life, and something else happens again. And the storm happens, and it's a terrible storm this time, like all of them are in the story. And he ends up in the boat, and the tiger goes overboard. And there's this amazing moment, and if you saw the movie, with the tiger, this part of your own being now, is hanging on for dear life. And he has an axe in his hand. And we're standing there in that moment, and I'm wondering what he's going to do. I was wondering, well, what would I do? His trouble seems to be the tiger, but the tiger's not the problem. And he doesn't kill the tiger. He finds a way to bring the tiger on board, then gets back on his little raft. And there's this amazing moment. The cinematography is awesome. I've been dreaming in Technicolor since that movie. The tiger is sitting proudly on the back of the life raft, which he owns, and he knows he owns it. No doubt about that. And he's in his little makeshift, save himself little spot where he's sitting in meditation, and everything is completely still and calm and quiet. And he gets, I gotta get on that boat to survive. And he needs me, or we both die. And so the next morning, he decides to take the situation into his hands. And what does he do? He finds a boat hook. I was actually going to ask you to bring a boat hook for me, but I brought this mop handle instead. And he finds this boat hook, and he's standing on this little canvas thing, and of course he's called Richard Parker in the movie. He has a name. Richard Parker is ready to eat him. And so what does he do? He decides to take this moment to tame this part of that energy. He's got fish in his back pocket. He blows the whistle, and he goes, "No, no!" You know how you do it with your ego? You gotta be real strong with it sometimes. "No, you, over here." Drops a little bit of fish there. "No, now I want you over here. Over here. No, no, no. No. Here. I want you over here. I want you over here." You stand in your power, right? "Thy rod and thy staff comforteth me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of that which would eat me." And you exercise power. He exercises the eye of the tiger. The tiger is just doing what the tiger does. The tiger is just a tiger. Its intent is to kill and eat. That's what it does. That's what that part of your ego does. And so he tames that part of his own being. With days of practice, he even gets the tiger to go back into his shelter, and then he takes his ring and shares that life raft with him. And this is your story. You've got to learn to work with this part of your own being. It's never going to leave you. And you can't kill it. You can develop a relationship with it, and you can learn how to tame it and live with it in your terms, not theirs. Do you understand what I'm saying?
not with the ego's terminology, but with your own. And then that awakening happens, and he's integrating at least that relationship with him. And then what happens next? Another storm comes. Now, this is not fair. I've been doing this spiritual work for all of these years. I worked out relationship with the tiger. I've taken the Prosperity Plus program. I'm supposed to be healthy and wealthy and wise and attracting all these good things to me. And another storm comes, and it is a whopper of a storm. It's so bad that it's knocking the 700-pound Bengal tiger all over the bottom of the raft, and he's standing on the end of this life raft, and he's doing what we often do. He throws his hands up and screams, "What do you want from me?" Has anybody ever felt that? I've done everything you want. I've given you my life. I've given you, my mother and father are gone. I've surrendered my siblings. I've developed a relationship with this man-eating part of my own being. Isn't that enough? My God, why hast thou forsaken me? He gets that moment of complete and utter, as we said in our lesson summation, exhaustion. He exhausts himself. And in that state of exhaustion, he completely surrenders. And he opens himself up to that which is greater than what he's suffering from. In that moment, he gets a glimpse of the divine presence of love, the bigger picture. He sees the beginning and the middle and the end of his whole life. Not unlike Ibn Alexander in the book Proof of Heaven. Not unlike Anita Morjani in her story of dying to be me. Not unlike Jesus on the cross saying, "Not my will, but thine be done." He surrenders, and this huge energy comes over him. And he gets that no matter what happens, it's going to work out fine. And then he collapses, and the tiger collapses. The storm was huge. And they wake up in the morning, and they're on the shore of this island, this life-giving paradise, Mordecai, a beautiful place of life. And he gets off the raft, and there's food, vegetarian food. It's a growing vegetable. This island is eating, he's going, I wish I had some curry. And just eating it for the first time. He's subsided on nothing but fish and flesh. He's got his vegetables back. And Richard Parker, the tiger, he jumps off, and there are these little animals, what are they? Meerkats, who've never seen anybody. And they're so innocent, and this tiger's just doing what a tiger does. Putting a tiger in his tank, right? Eating his heart out. And so there they are, and he decides, you know what? Maybe we'll just stay here. We found paradise. There's fresh water. There's all the food we could possibly eat for both me and the tiger. This could be our place to stay. Warning, warning, another metaphysical teaching here. You can't stay in any one place in consciousness for too long. You've got to keep evolving and growing. And while he's sleeping up in the tree with his little marmot friends that are sort of cuddling up with him, he notices strangely that Richard Parker is for some reason sleeping at night in the lifeboat. And what he finds out is that this island has got a secret. At night, the island eats what's ever on it, consumes it. And then during the day, it provides nourishment. And then this is the ego now. This is the dog-eat-dog world. It just does what it does. You know, so you got to play by the understanding you have from a higher state of consciousness not to fall asleep. Oh, that's a new one, a new angle. Not to fall asleep. So they pack everything up during the daytime, and they get out on the boat again, and they're drifting, and they're drifting, and they're drifting, and they're drifting. And they run out of food, and the fresh water is gone, and there's this amazing, incredible moment where it looks as though their physical bodies are going to die. The tiger is so weak it can't move. He barely has enough strength to do anything. And there's this incredible moment in the movie. And again, this is your life now, where he's sitting next to Richard Parker, and he goes, "This is probably going to be the end of you and I, Richard Parker. We did the best we could." And he takes the head of this giant creature. He puts it on his lap. He strokes it. In that moment, he has completely integrated that part of his own being. In that moment, they're one. There's no separation. Beautiful, powerful moment when that happens for us, don't you think? When we're no longer being eaten or killed by what's chasing us, we embrace it and integrate it into our own being. They just hang out together while they wait to leave their bodies. And of course, they end up moving to the shoreline of Mexico,
and it's the place where they get rescued. And the boat pulls up to shore, and Pi is so tired. He said, I almost drowned in 2 feet of water. I was so dead. Falls flat on the beach in the sand. And Richard Parker, this huge tiger, is now about 200 pounds, just totally skin and bones. And he flops off the edge of the life raft. And then he walks off into the jungle. And he never looks back. Never looks back. And when Pi is being taken by the villagers to be rescued to the hospital, he's crying. Why? After all we've been through, why didn't he look back and wink at me? Why didn't he somehow acknowledge me? Well, what's wrong with this? Why? The truth is, there's nothing wrong with it. The ego can't love you because it's not real. It's just this little part of anatta, the no self. And once you integrate it, it's gone. It walks off into the forest, and you'll never see it again until next week. Until you leave in the parking lot and someone cuts you off, and then the tiger comes back. Do you understand? We all have this that we're working with inside of us. Why? There's no answer to that question. It's to understand that when you integrate this part of your being, you no longer need to be attacked by it. It begins to work through you. You move from the eye of the tiger, looking for who's next, to the inner eye of awakening, to who it is that we really, truly are. So now we're in the hospital room, and he's there, and the company that has the freighter line are with him. He's the only person who survived. And they want to know why the ship went down, and they want to know what happened. What happened? What happened? And so he tells them the story I just told you. And when he gets done telling the story, they both say, we don't believe it. The ego doesn't believe that story of miracles, of things showing up to help you when you need it, of coming from a place of oneness, and everything's connected, and transformation out of suffering is possible. We don't believe that story. And he goes, that's the story that I'm coming from. I don't have another story to tell you. And they say, well, we don't buy it. There's no way we can write this down. And so in his illuminated consciousness, he goes, I'll tell you another story. A story of 4 people on this boat. There wasn't a hyena and a zebra and a monkey and a tiger. There were 4 people from the ship, and one of them was my mother. And we were cannibals, and we ate each other, and we tore each other apart. And I was the only one left standing after it was all done. And the ego stands up and goes, now that story we can print. Do you understand that about you? The ego believes that. It is dog eat dog out there. It's fight or be killed. It's get more guns, more weapons. That's what it does. That's the nature of the tiger in us. You can't do anything with it. You can decide to take a different look at your life and live from the story of oneness rather than separation and dog eat dog. And every one of us comes to the crossroads of that every single day of our lives, don't we? Don't we? In small ways and big ways. So again, as I told you, my birthday, and it's Wednesday of last week. My birthday was the following Wednesday. The kids were going to come and have my birthday with me on Friday. Maureen, Jim, and Emerson. And we were planning on them coming, and we'd have time together. So I get an email from Maura, and it says, Dear Dad, you know, we're really kind of busy on Friday, and Emerson's got this, and Jim's got to go to a doctor's meeting, and I've got tennis practice, and it's not going to really work for us to come. You don't mind, do you? Because she said you're already really busy. And so I'm listening to her, and part of me didn't want to have to clean the house, and the other part, I'm starting to claw my claws. I'm starting to shine them up. You understand? The tiger is getting ready, you know? Well, it's my birthday, and I come to, well, your birthdays, and we've come plenty of times when, you know, the comparison thing, and I came only for a few hours, and we left, and, you know, now I'm ready. I'm ready now. But I'm holding back. I'm trying to be a little teeny itsy bit mindful here, but it's not working. And then I get another email that says, oh, by the way, you want new foot pegs for the front of your Harley Davidson for your birthday. You need to tell me which ones to get. There's 3,000 of them on the internet. Could you hurry up? I got to get your present for you so I can send it to you. And now I'm ready. The tiger is attacking. And I leap forward with a return email that says, Dear Maura, the pegs I have on the bike now are fine. Don't worry about it. You don't have to get me anything. Dad.
Now I've jumped on the jugular, she's been attacked, I've taken my flesh, I've eaten of that flesh, and now we're not talking to each other for a couple of days. Do you understand how it works? Sometimes what we need to do is, when that starts to happen, is, no! Blow the whistle on yourself. No, 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 you stay over here now. I want to stay centered in my own being. You know, blow the whistle, friends. Blow the whistle. Take a break. Take a pause. And so I blew the whistle. And I took out my mindfulness stick. And I took 2 days. It took 2 days to get off my issue about it. And then I emailed her back. Each year on my birthday, I ask what the major focus for this year's teaching will be. As I said in the beginning, it's called anatta, the idea of no self. Be careful of what you ask for. The last thing to surrender on the path of awakening is the idea that we are somebody very important that has to have all their needs met all the time, or we won't or can't be happy. As we get older, as I get older, I realize there's no way that that list can ever be fulfilled. To surrender to what is in any given moment is easy to say. I say it to you every single week, but it's hard to practice. So I want to thank you for giving me the best birthday present you could have possibly given me, an opportunity to practice no self. I only suffered because I believe I'm somebody and I'm important and you should be here for my birthday. Me, myself, and I. And when the moment I surrendered that, exhausted its usual possibilities, something else came back and opened me up to the gift I'd just received. I got the birthday present I asked for, a demonstration of surrender and letting go. And that's what our whole life, your life, my life is about. That's what this present incarnation is really all about. So let's go to the lesson summation just for a moment, and we'll take a look at how we'll definitely get to use that this year. So when it's time to suffer, you should suffer. When it's time to cry, you should cry. Cry completely. Cry until there are no more tears, and then recognize in your exhaustion that you're still alive. The sun still rises and sets, the seasons come and go, and absolutely nothing remains the same. And that will include your suffering. And when the suffering ends, wisdom begins to rise up in your consciousness, and you ask the right questions. The next one, please. The eye, Jesus said, is the lamp of the body. And when the body is single with its intention to awaken, the whole body is filled with life, with life, with life. Use this week, I know you're going to apply this, use this week the stick of mindfulness to blow the whistle on the tiger. You'll be surprised how little it takes to do that. When we are in this present incarnation, we are here to develop a relationship with this part of our being. It's not about getting rid of that energy. No! That's what makes us a human being. It's about focusing it for a different intention, to awaken and make different choices. So Maureen and I got done with this whole interpretation of this while we're sitting with Maureen's sister Joanne and my brother-in-law Chris. And Maureen's giving the interpretation of this movie. And they'd seen it. This is their second time. And when we got done, Joanne said, "You guys sure get a lot of meaning out of stuff." I said, "You're right. I'm sucking the marrow out of every day. Yeah. I want to get what I can, all the wisdom I can from each situation. I'm not running from it. I want to learn from it." She said, "The only thing I saw in that movie was that we have two choices. We have the choice to either believe in God and miracles, that they happen every day, or a choice not to and just kill and be killed." And I said, bingo! You got it. That is the interpretation. It's the story of Pi. It's the story of your present incarnation. What story do you want to come from and believe in? You will get the results of what you choose to believe in. And your life will be a constant affirmation for what choice you make. And so I say to you, my friends, in this present incarnation, choose wisely. And don't be afraid to blow the whistle on yourself. Namaste.